Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Shirley. You are here today with myself and Kirthiga. Hi, how are you? Maybe you want to take yourself off mute and just say hello so people can see your face.
Hi, great to see
Hi.
everyone. Oh my
So
God, we have people from Canada, from the US.
yes, we do. And actually, I wanted to ask everyone, please in our chat, drop your role and your city, because we have many talented people in a lot of different disciplines. So let's say you can say blockchain developer, Chicago designer, San Francisco. Let us know who you are. We are a global audience. Welcome, everyone. So excited to have you. I'm Shirley Yang, one of the builders of the Braintrust Network. Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to talk about blockchain and the company building with Kirthiga Reddy. Oh, look at that coming in. Everyone, I see.
Kenya, Jakarta,
Yes. Brazil,
Reddy,
San Diego.
Israel, Turkey,
It's
Nigeria.
Where are you today, Kirthiga?
I am very much in San Francisco, the Bay Area.
Okay. Just so everyone knows, last time I spoke to her, she was in Dubai. Still in Chicago today. Braintrust is the first decentralized talent network connecting highly skilled tech talent with the world's leading brands and most exciting startups. We're a community of over 400,000 talented professionals that have earned over $175 million through quality jobs on the platform. And right now, I'm actually going to drop a link to our live dashboard. I don't know if you guys can see through the slew of messages coming in, but I'm dropping a link to, let me see, did everyone get my link in the
Yes,
chat?
I can see it.
Yeah.
info.app.usebraintrust.com.
Thank you, Kirthiga. But essentially, this is a live dashboard that shows the Braintrust stats, how much money the network has generated in gross service value in US dollars, how much B-Trust is being distributed to the community, average market rates on the platform for your skill sets. I mean, I think it's super helpful, especially if you just joined Braintrust and you want to see, how much you should be putting in your application and the type of job that you're looking for. Does it match the rates that you're looking for? And also, Braintrust recently launched the professional network so you can learn from one another, upskill, and be positioned for the rapidly evolving demands on talent. And as we progress through today's exciting chat, please remember, post your questions in the career help feed with the hashtag AMA. I'm posting that link again, and I know Masha is probably repeating this as we speak. I put that link, app.usebraintrust.com/feed. If you have new questions, post it there and we'll address them as we can. So without further ado, let me quickly just go through our agenda with Kirthiga here today. Everyone see the agenda slide? We first have Q&A, and then we're going to go directly to the product and see what community has questions for you, Kirthiga, and we'll have you please share your insights there. And then we're going to highlight a few blockchain jobs that are available and open on Braintrust. That's really exciting. And finally, we're doing something new today. We're going to do Braintrust Trivia. So this is at the very end. Everyone has an opportunity to earn some B-Trust live if we answer correctly. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned to the very end. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to, let me see, share screen, my product screen, so we can take a look at what questions the community has for Kirthiga. Let me see. Can you see my screen, the product screen? I'd love to introduce our esteemed guest today. Kirthiga Reddy is the CEO of Virtualness.io, a pioneering company in the blockchain industry. She has a remarkable background from being an engineer at Silicon Graphics to leading Facebook, India, and South Asia, now making a significant impact in the world of blockchain. As a founding investment partner of the F7 Seed Fund and the first female investment partner at SoftBank, managing the $130 billion fund, Vision Fund, Kirthiga has been at the forefront of technology investments in emerging sectors. Kirthiga, it's such an honor to have you today, and thank you for joining.
Now, so excited to be here. I've been loving all of the engagement from the community, all of the great questions coming in, and certainly so happy to delve into my background, both from the engineering side, the product side, being one of the investment partners at SoftBank Vision Fund, and my current role.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Kirthiga, we had so many incoming questions. We really had to distill down to the ones that I think we saw some themes emerging here. So I'm going to paraphrase some of these because really this one, for example, James Alexander asked something that's 5 questions. And so really what he's asking here is, let's start with, what are the current trends that you're seeing in the blockchain job market? And it would be super helpful, especially for those who are just starting off. What are the common roles and projects that you think people should be looking out for when you first start off?
No, totally. While all of the world is so focused on AI, and AI is every second and third word, I will tell you that there is so much happening in the blockchain world that is not hitting headlines. And surely it's almost, if you take the parallel even of ChatGPT, they were working on it for 7 years before it became an overnight sensation. And so, that's the same thing that's happening in the blockchain world. And there is a ton happening at all different levels. So as someone looking into blockchain careers, I would urge you to think about what layer of blockchain world do you want to enter and play in. One, there is the base infrastructure level of just the blockchain infrastructure itself. Do you want to create, the next optimized EVM? And there's so much innovation happening in within Polygon, within and non-EVM chains like Solana. And so do you want to optimize? So do you want to work at that level, right? So that's part one. Then next up, do you want to work on the decentralized application layer? And there's everything happening from applications in the finance world to supply chain, logistics, health tech, and virtualness is working in the space of enabling creators, brands, sports, media, and entertainment to use the power of blockchain, right? Do you want to work there? And within that, of course, there are also roles like, I've seen like designers posting on as they introduce themselves. And I'm telling you, designers are the hardest skills and roles that we have found to fill for. I just posted on Braintrust the designer role for virtualness, and I've already been seeing applications. So I would say, look at what level you want to enter in, where is your skill set most suited for, and then look for, is there a particular domain? If it's health tech, if it's finance, if it's supply chain, if it's, entertainment and media, and then accordingly parse your journey into the blockchain world. But I will tell you, it's happening and it's everywhere, Shirley.
Okay, so what I just heard is there are a plethora of opportunities, but if we were to really distill, right, you look at which layer 1, 2, 3, right, which level you want to work on, which industry, what excites you within which domain within blockchain and Web3, and finally your role. What are you good at, your skill set? Obviously, blockchain people think of developer first, but designers are hot. So don't be discouraged and just go in as your own skill set. So what are some of the biggest challenges in starting a career in blockchain industry, and how do we overcome them?
What are some of the biggest challenges? I would say that certainly we saw a setback in November, December with things like the FTX explosion, and it's pretty sad that some of these one-offs, if I may, really taint the industry. And I would say we are in the process of rebuilding trust with our users, with the industry at large. And so that's on one hand. But I would say also that the applications of blockchain continues, with steady progress. I was talking to one of the business leaders at Procter & Gamble, one of the leading consumer product goods side, and she works on feminine products, hygiene products, and her customers wanted to know the origin of where the materials in the product came from, and they use blockchain for that. So you are seeing blockchain being used in, again, the largest of companies to the most innovative upstart startups. And in talking of challenges, there's a lot of things that are new and the infrastructure is still coming together. When we first launched our site, Shirley, we saw a 67% payment accept rate, right? That's not, it's almost like the credit card and the payment infrastructure of the internet in the 1997s, right? So there's a lot of innovation still happening, which is where there's also a lot of opportunity for everyone dialing in to fix those gaps in the current blockchain infrastructure. And by the way, we have done a ton of innovation, and now we are no longer at that point. But again, we worked with industry leading companies across the globe to get there. So one, I would say the reputation side of things is a challenge. Two is there's a lot of gaps in the infrastructure for blockchain, but that both of those to me are opportunities for people on this call to help fix.
Yeah, I love that. So thinking from even a philosophical standpoint, my interpretation is we're in the phase of rebuilding trust, establishing trust, using blockchain where you can't change, you're recording history, right? And as developers and designers or talent, we're going to come in using our existing knowledge to try to push the industry to where it needs to be, where that trust level is. Where it needs to be, essentially. Yeah.
And I'll build on that, Shirley, in two dimensions. One, a lot of the blockchain tools are not as easy to use as their Web2 counterparts. So how can we make that more easy, more seamless to use? How can they be like more mobile first experiences? And those are all opportunities for the industry to work on.
Mobile first for blockchain. Yes, I remember when we did mobile first for Web2O back in 2009.
One would assume that that's the default and the standard, but
Yeah.
interestingly, that's not the case.
Yeah.
And again, so much opportunity for people who know, the reliability, the security, to come in and also fix some of the gaps that we had in the Web2 infrastructure. And I do think as a society and as an industry, we might have done a disservice by focusing too much on the technology elements of blockchain versus the benefits and the uses of blockchain and how that can really change how consumers interact with finance or supply chain, and as in some of these examples that we just shared.
The mass adoption piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll ask my personal question at the end. Let's get through the community questions, but I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts of utilizing blockchain for mass adoption. And so next question from James is it's more specific, any in-demand skills that you would recommend, some certification or specific resources. Masha is going to paste the link. Actually, I'll paste it since I have it here. We researched some side-by-side comparison of free courses and also paid courses for the community. If you're interested in certifications, you can check out those links. But we'd love to hear from you, Kirthiga, if, while you're hiring or you're meeting talented engineers or designers, what are some skill sets that you look for, or some training programs that you think really can perk your ear when you look to hire?
Yeah. We mostly look for one, the kind of work that has been done, and honestly, less on the certifications per se.
Interesting.
And certainly, certifications can be a good way to get started and jump in. And, depending on which layer you want to contribute at, there's everything from the MIT blockchain course to the certification course to the Udacity courses to, I'm so curious to know like what your evaluation of the different blockchain certification courses had, and that's a tremendous resource for your community. I would also say that I find that to just be the beginning. And there is so much out there just, in YouTube or in the regular web as places for you to learn from. I will also give a comparison, Shirley, in the quantum computing world. So I led SoftBank's first investment in the quantum computing space. And I know there was a question from the community about quantum and blockchain. But I actually learned from a YouTuber, Anastasia, who taught me how to do my first quantum computing program. And that was part of my diligence process as I led my investment. So I would say certainly, certifications play a role. but also just learn from the plethora of information available. And what I look for in a resume is actually what they have done. And it could be that they don't have blockchain experience earlier either, but that they're showing me how things that they've done in the Web2 world apply. And I look at how they have learned, and the ability then for them to step into a new industry. Um, because given that this is so new, we might not have people who have done, have depth of experience in blockchain, in which case we look for the right hunger, the right talent, the right passion, and the track record of learning and navigating different technology transformations.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And almost I want to say it's not necessarily what tests you've taken, but what you've done, right? Either in Web 2 or Web 3.
Yeah. And I hope that feels very positive and optimistic to the audience, in that in your ability to jump in and be part of this exciting new industry.
Yes. And so next, thank you so much. I would say the next one is about career transitions and milestones from Bert Beatty. As tech industry continues to evolve at a breakneck pace, what advice do you have for professionals looking to pivot into blockchain? So a lot of people are just starting into blockchain and thinking about blockchain. How do we know if it's the right move to make as an individual, as a, you know, I want to say professional who have been working in the Web2 world for 10, 20 years? How do you know it's the right time for a significant career change? And, personally, I would love to hear a little story if it makes sense here. What skills or mindsets have been pivotal for your success in these transitions?
Yeah. So some of these things are things that you will only know in the hindsight. And what you do is you make bets based on the data points that you're seeing, right? I went from being the one of the youngest directors of engineering at Silicon Graphics, which was then a 9,000 people, $2 billion company, to getting my MBA at Stanford, and then being an individual contributor product manager in a mobile startup. And by the way, I've been taking like a 40% pay cut in doing that, right? One goes.
I want to underline what you just said. 9,000 employee company, you're a director there, and then to an IC.
That's what I did, right? And that's because I was making the bet that mobile is going to be the next big thing. And I wanted to work in a startup. And so, as you know, in startups, the base compensation is always lower and the payout is in the equity. So it was a bet that I was making, right? And I had sleepless nights. It wasn't easy. Most of these career transitions, so I empathize with the question because it's never certain, right? And so I had several sleepless nights saying, is this going to look really bad on my resume? Like everyone gets an MBA because they want to get like more money, more title, more of everything. And here I was making this move. And one of the executive search firm recruiters, Jana Rich, who now runs her own consultancy, told me, she said, if this is a short-term move, and this is just something that you're dabbling with, it's probably not the right thing. If this is something you have deep conviction about, then things will all play out in the long run. And sure enough, I got promoted very quickly to group product manager, the director of product management. The company got acquired by Motorola. It was a $500 million exit. So when people look at my LinkedIn, they will see director of engineering, and then their eyes directly jump to director of product management. They don't see the twists and the pivots in between of going to the IC role. And life and career is usually a journey like that. And for me, it was also about going into this with eyes wide open, that even if this, going to a startup always has its risks, that if this didn't play out, that I would have gained the skill sets and worked with tremendous people, that I would still be very relevant no matter the outcome. Of course, I was going in there planning to do everything for a great outcome, but going into it with eyes wide open, even if it didn't. So that's what I would say. The fact that you're on this call means that you're drawn into the potential of blockchain. Blockchain is one of the most transformative technologies that is changing every industry as we know it. And I would say lean into that interest, learn more about the different places, and excited about all of the opportunities on the Braintrust side, as well as like across the world and the internet.
I love that. So if it's a long-term game, things will work out in the end, even if you're taking a step back. I remember when you shared that story with me, and it was it stuck with me. I think that's great. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, and I've done that several times, Shirley. And even as I went from being, an investment partner at SoftBank, I deployed $1 billion for them, saw, several new unicorns, several companies publicly listed. And then I went to be a founder of my own company, Virtualness. And I'll tell you, I'm probably there are people saying, really, she left this job to do this. Um, and then 3 years from now they'll say, oh, I see what she was doing, and 7 years from now they'll say, oh, she was genius in what she did. So listen to yourself and follow and craft your journey for yourself.
You're taking a big bet on yourself. If not yourself, then who, right? So I think this is really great. We didn't get to introduce virtualness.io in the very beginning. I'd love to hear it from your own words. How did you go from a $130 billion fund to starting your own company? Obviously, it's something that's very, very valuable and explosive. That's how you're willing to make that bet. But tell us about your company, please.
Yeah, so at SoftBank Vision Fund, our thesis was that AI is changing every industry as we know it. I led SoftBank's first investment in quantum computing, their first investment in additive manufacturing, their first investment in a mental wellness company, and then my last investment there was actually an investment in, not surprisingly, a blockchain Web3 metaverse company. It was a repeat founder for us, a company called Improbable based in London. And at that point, Shirley, I started getting intense flashbacks to my early days of building Facebook India. I was the first employee for Facebook in India and their managing director for India and South Asia. At that time, India had less than 100 million people on the internet. And now we have over 600 million people. And this is not in a matter of like decades and decades. It was about 12 years. And so I started getting intense flashbacks to those early days of building. And I saw the potential of blockchain. And given my background of helping brands create a sports media entertainment to embrace the power of Web2, I wanted to do the same thing for Web3. So what Virtualness is a platform that lets all of these constituents have a direct connect with their fans in ways that are not possible in Web2, shift the dial on monetization, again, in ways not currently present in Web2. And we do that by having an end-to-end mobile-first platform that lets you design your digital goods, mint it on the blockchain, associated with rewards/utility, and buy and sell without requiring any crypto wallets. So that's the platform. I saw someone from Jakarta, Indonesia join, and just this morning, my co-founder was in Jakarta, in Indonesia, announcing our partnership with Liga One. So we have an exclusive Web3 win with the top football league in Asia, where they're using our platform for all of their Web3 initiatives. So that's what the company does, and that's what I'm betting the next decade of my life and my career on, decade and more. And I'm so excited for all of the blockchain enthusiasts on this call. We will all do it together.
Well, thank you, Kirthiga. We're going to have you please talk about what you're hiring for when we talk about Braintrust jobs.
Yes.
So many questions pouring in. Let's get to the next one. And thank you, Ray. It's 2 a.m. there, he says. Kirthiga is worth staying up late for. Okay, the next one is from Amy. I wanted to highlight this one because it's about the Vision Fund piece. You as a venture partner, positive actions are required for a female investment partner to create a vision fund. I'm sure there's a lot, but what would you say would be the top two that comes to mind?
And Shirley, tell me the question again.
Sure. I hope everyone can see my screen. It's from Amy here.
I cannot, but I will let you guide me.
Okay, sure. What positive actions are required for a female investment partner to create a vision fund?
Okay. So if the question is about like how do we get more female investors, so that could be the question being asked. because we have far too few investors, female investors. We have far too few female founders. So surely is the question, what do we need to do to have more investors?
I think it's up to interpretation a little bit. It's a little vague, but I would answer it as a female investor, how would you create a positive vision fund?
Yeah, so I spoke about the kind of investments I led there. I'll also share that SoftBank Vision Fund was a tremendous platform to really drive change on the diversity, inclusion, and equity front. So, for example, I invested in making sure we have the right affinity groups and the right goals internally. So we created a woman at SoftBank group, LGBTQ at SoftBank group, underrepresented minority group. Each of them were paired with executive sponsors so that we could know what were the specific needs. We also created hiring goals around these targets. So the first pillar was internal. The second pillar was investing across our portfolio companies. So I was the executive sponsor for programs like Connect and Lead that brought together rising female leaders from across our portfolio companies with an intention to create the same kind of network that men typically usually more naturally have. And so how is it that we can do that? And thirdly, the third pillar was investing, because we realized that there weren't that many female and diverse founders that we could write. At that time, the minimum check size for SoftBank Vision Fund was 100 million, right? There weren't that many companies in that stage that led by female founders and diverse founders that we could write that kind of check to. So what we did was we created an accelerator program called Emerge for funding brilliant companies by diverse founders so that we could get more founders into the realm that we could then go ahead and invest those kind of checks at later stages. So those were the kind of actions that I personally was very involved with at SoftBank, and as much as I look back on the work that I did with companies, building companies, and enabling companies in different industries, I look back also on the work that I did on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Fund to help drive change, Shirley.
Super helpful. Thank you so much. And Amy is actually here. And I think you answered her question very thoroughly. And thank you, Deb, our community member, for taking notes. Masha or Deb, would you please drop her Google Doc in the chat again so everyone can keep up or add notes too as we go along. Next question. So what platforms tools do you find most useful for keeping up with tech as it relates to business and career growth? So this is more general, but I thought it was relevant, especially, with you having such a impressive career. What are some resources that maybe you always went back to, some newsletters or groups that I think really helped you progress forward?
Yeah. One source that might not be on people's radar is to subscribe to things like Fortune Term Sheet or, PitchBook or Crunchbase, because they will tell you, on a daily, weekly basis, the companies that are being funded. And even for people who are looking for roles, if a company is being funded recently, usually it means that they're going to be hiring, right? So it's an opportunity for you to build your list. And it just gives me a good sense of what's happening in the industry and what's going to hit 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So that's one source. Two, there are wonderful podcasts, whether it's the All In podcast that is run by Shamat and some amazing people there. So whether it's that podcast or I also love VC 2020, and so there's that set of podcasts that you can look at. I also use just LinkedIn and Twitter as my source of information from trusted people, and so that also serves Shirley as my way of keeping in touch with what's going on. I also have some YouTuber recommendation. I actually collated it from the team, and I'll send that across to you as a follow-up from my team was sending me that information, so I'll send that across.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, next question. So back to the more blockchain related topic.
Okay.
from Naushed. He has a question about, sorry, it just questions are coming in, so it's refreshing. I'm interested in the use of generative AI in predictive analytics. In particular, its use in BI. Are there any resources that can enlighten me on this topic?
So I truly believe that with the whole wave of generative AI, the need for blockchain and authenticated digital assets has never been greater. And so, so so I appreciate the question very much because I do think that these two technologies intersect very deeply, and generative AI makes blockchain that much more important. I'll tell you, we use it extensively on the virtualness platform where, in our design tool, we allow people to use generative AI to do the designing, and then we have a complete editing tool to do that. But was there a specific industry, Shirley, that this question is about or across?
Um,
Yeah. Oh, I thought, okay, business intelligence, business intelligence.
oh, sorry, use in BI.
Yeah. So I don't have on top of my mind examples in the BI space, but for generative AI, but I've certainly seen it like in my world of creators, brand, sports, media, entertainment, being used extensively on again, the design front, the engagement front, the ability to interact across different languages. So those are the cases that I've most used it for, but I'll think more about the BI case and we'll circle back shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll move to the
Yeah.
next.
And there was an earlier question about just the skill sets that we look for.
Sure.
There are skill sets on the pure blockchain side of things, right? So how is it that Web 2 and Web 3 products interface with each other? Because there's a lot that happens in those edges, right? And how does that happen? Two, we are very much looking for someone in the payments layer, and so payments experts. How do you do on ramping? How did you do off ramping? Are all big questions that we look at. Then on the user interface front, again, how is it that when someone does a purchase, they can use either a crypto wallet or they can use fiat currency? How is it that both of those processes are as seamless as possible? So a lot of things at that edge of Web 2 and Web 3 are things that we look for a lot, Shirley.
I hear you, especially the wallet piece. And we talk about mass adoption. I have an engineering background, and to figure out MetaMask and all the different wallets, and it's a lot of steps. And to make it as frictionless as possible, right? And I can definitely see where designers are so integral to that process. Is how you get more and more users, right? To make it mainstream. Yeah. And so speaking of designers, we have Evian Davies asking you two-part question. As a designer, UX designer, what would help you stand out in the blockchain sector? Are there specific skill sets? I think you covered, the Web 2 to Web 3, but if there's anything else that you want to mention. And also most blockchain companies are startups, so maybe they need candidates with a diverse skill set. From your experience, do you believe it's better to be a generalist in the blockchain world or a specialist in only one area? And for his example, he's saying a UX researcher and a UI designer, or is it better to present himself as just one of these?
So there are a lot of different questions there. And so let's take it one, and all great questions. So let's take it like one by one. So in terms of the specific skill sets, a +1 on, I think one, of course, you have to be an outstanding UX designer, and those skill sets naturally apply whether you're working on blockchain, whether you're working on Gen AI or quantum computing or any aspect. So for sure, one just being an expert in that field is where you start. But two, especially as you're thinking about blockchain, having that understanding of blockchain, what are the limitations today, that ability to keep up with technology. When we look for designers, we look for three things. One, again, someone who is very rooted in consumer insight. What is the user trying to do, right, with that particular product? Two, someone who is leaning into technology and can see how technology and the next generation of technology can be used to then translate it into product so that we are able to solve the user need better, faster, bigger, bolder using next gen technology. So those are the three things that we look for when we are looking for a designer. And so I would say, again, having understanding of blockchain is a huge advantage for any designer in the blockchain space. Certainly, I would present yourself as a specialist, like I would say you're a UX designer, but then also say willing to wear all different hats and give examples of where you have worn different hats, because you are right, as a startup, you are required to fill many different roles. So we have our designers sometimes pitching in with our social media, with our communications, and just pitching in as is needed. As do all of us, by the way. I'm sometimes a designer, I'm a support person, I'm everything all at once, right?
Yes, absolutely. It kind of feels like it depends on who you're pitching to. The more scrappy the startup, you don't want to say you just do one thing, right? But it's great to be a master of something, but willing to be scrappy and get your hands dirty.
Totally, totally.
Great. And then we have one more question officially from the product feed, and then we're going to hop over to a few jobs. And we'd
Yeah.
love to talk about your job.
And actually, on the last one, I'll tell you, we were actually very tempted to hire someone in a role where he said, I do this and I also do these 5 different things. We were like, oh, maybe he will fill the role of 5 people in one, because, we only have that many roles that we can fill. But then we also said, wait, let's not get lured away by that promise of 5 and let go of the key thing that we're hiring for in this person. Let's make sure that they really are kick-ass in that particular role. And then if they bring all of these things, that's great. But we will not compromise on like that core skill set in order to also get those 5, if that's helpful.
Priorities, right?
Yeah.
Because you needed something that's more important. Great. So another question from the product feed from Bain. He's blockchain, AI, and quantum computing. Okay, 3 big keywords. Where do 2 or more of these intersect in the most exciting ways right now? And I think this is a great question going back to what you referred to. Some people call it crypto winter. Some people are just, the mistrust that happened since November of 2022. What are some things some projects or areas that we can do more research and look at to give us that hope to understand what's exciting and who's doing a good job out there?
Well, one, of course, I might be biased, but, you should definitely look at virtualness.io because we bring together generative AI and blockchain in such beautiful ways. And the momentum speaks for itself. From signing the Philippines Basketball Association, I know we have a global audience here, to, the top football leagues in Indonesia, to launching with so go look at the site www.virtualness.io. Leah Abrams is an award-winning British Malaysian artist, and she has her work limited edition. And if you buy her digital art, it also comes with a matching notebook. So go buy it until it lasts. And so, some of the most exciting work is happening there. I would also point out the work that Randy Zuckerberg is doing with the Hague, also bringing together diverse artists together. I mentor a company called swirl.io, and what they're doing is working with educational institutions and pairing them up with a consumer packaged goods company. And so it becomes a fundraising mechanism for schools where their children are putting up their artwork, and the Procter and Gamble, the Unilever can buy that art on blockchain and be able to, use it on their packaging and their, consumer thank you notes and the like. So there's a ton happening in that space. And I also gave you the examples of the Procter and Gamble and how they're doing supply chain. Um, in a completely different realm, I've seen innovation happening in healthcare where it gives you more control of your own records and gives you ability of what you want to share with people instead of the convoluted disparate medical records that exist across the different parts of the medical system. I've seen people turn things on advertising. What if you, Shirley, had your record and you were able to say, oh, I'm fine with sharing my preferences with a travel company or cosmetics company, an apparel company, and not to the others, instead of the platforms having that power. So there's so much happening. And maybe one last example, my girls, I have teenage girls, when they walk the stage to get their diploma, maybe they will get a piece of paper that says that it's their diploma, but their actual diploma will be an NFT that's minted on blockchain, right? So this is seeping itself in every industry, and we could not be at a more exciting time.
Kirthiga, I heard you talk about that diploma piece in one of your talks. It's awesome. It's very powerful. It's on YouTube. If you anyone just Google Kirthiga and one of the YouTube or Web3 talks, you'll hear how she opens with that powerful statement. So, and speaking of opportunities and looking for towards the future, I'd love to highlight some jobs that are available on Braintrust. And since we're really crunch on time, Kirthiga, go, please tell us about the product designer virtualness that you're hiring for.
Yeah, so I think we spoke about the designer extensively. So we are looking for someone with, say, 5 years of experience or more, flexible there, but someone who, as I said, I think we have covered it already, deeply rooted in consumer insight, can look at future technologies, map those technologies to what to solve consumer problems. And more description on Braintrust, go look it up.
Wonderful. And if one of our hosts, maybe Masha, you could please drop the URL into the chat for everyone so they can take a look. That'd be wonderful. A few other ones I just want to quickly highlight, and then we'll get to our Braintrust Live segment. We have a head of product general manager at Croesus job available. It's a Web3 startup by an entrepreneur who has multiple exits to Microsoft, Intuit, and MasterCard. This role is full on B2C, focused on B2C application building experience. We'll be also dropping that into the chat for you to take a look. Another one we love to focus on is senior executive for a nutraceutical and the botanical, sorry, is a long word for me, apparel company for those to check out. This is a director, senior executive role at an early stage Web3 startup, very interesting role here. And lastly, a software engineer job for graphics at Snaptrude. This is a work from anywhere opportunity. They do require a India time overlap for this role. So very exciting stuff. Please take a look. And for the last minute or two, we love to jump to Braintrust Trivia. Really quickly, how this works is I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Everyone has 2 chances to win Braintrust. Each answer, if you get correctly, the first person who drops the right answer in the chat will win 5 Braintrust. Okay, so Kirthiga, let's see if you want to play with us too. The first one is, what is the most frequently posted category on the Braintrust career feed? Now we're going back to our product, the product feed that you guys are looking at. Is it career advice that people ask most about? Is it portfolio resume help? Is it job search and interviewing? Or is it mentorship? Wow, let's see who got this correctly. Okay, so the answer is A, career advice. Of course, I mean, we're here for career advice and upskilling and learning for one another. And it looks like Alex Poole, you are the winner. It's actually the first answer that was dropped in the comments. And Alex, if you could please reach out to community, Masha probably could help you out. But congratulations, you just won 5 Braintrust. Next question. How much money GSV, okay, gross service value in US dollars, has the Braintrust Network earned since its inception? If you guys have been paying attention, I talked about this number at the very beginning. The person who can answer without closest to the actual GSV in dollars will win 5B Trust. Let's see. Kirthiga, do you remember?
I said 165.
You are so close. So close. Let's see who's the winner. The answer is 175. And our winner, 175. It's actually 175 to something. We can check.
And Kenneth Sanya said 175,240,738.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Copy and paste maybe from the dashboard. Fantastic. Well, it looks like the person who was closest, that was the fastest, actually sent to only hosts and panelists. This person is Wintonio. Wintonio, if you can please send Masha an email or a community an email, we'll deposit 5B Trust into your Braintrust wallet. And with that, I just want to say, hey, thank you so much for today's session. Kirthiga, you are an inspiration, and everyone has been so excited and eager to meet you and get their questions answered. And we are so excited to make that hire for Virtualness.io for you, as well as see your journey. Everyone go to Virtualness.io, see what she's building, to have someone of her caliber to start this company. I think I'm just really, really excited to see what you have on your roadmap and what comes next.
No, Shirley, very excited to be here. This community is giving, I'm leaving this chat with even more energy than I came in with. I saw several questions, by the way, say, like, if everyone wants experience, how do we get started? I'd say, there's a ton that you can do in terms of even like doing projects, contributing to GitHub, showing your work, volunteering, even like following the people in the companies that you are interested in, and having never before have people been that accessible. So even as you have engaged in intelligent debate in the different social media channels, all are ways to make you stand out. And I'd say, so even if you have no experience, there are paths, there are ways, and it might not happen as soon as each of us wanted to. Things rarely happen as soon as each one of us want, in different dimensions, but stick with it. And I will be cheering the hardest for everyone in this community. And thank you, Braintrust, for building this beautiful community.
Thank you so much, Kirthiga. What a valuable panelist. Everyone, let's give her a round of applause. We'll connect with you. We'll follow you on LinkedIn, and we'll be if you have more questions for the community, for Kirthiga, post on the Braintrust feed. We'll try to get to them. And
actually, one question as folks log off, like, what's the one thing that you remember from this webinar? And you can, as folks are logging off, the one thing you will remember.
What a great way to wrap. This is how you know you're speaking with a pro.
What's one thing you will remember, Shirley?
So many things. Well, I think I remember that sometimes I love how you said, if it's a short-term bet, then maybe it's not worth sidestepping.
Kiran, so great to see you on this chat. Okay, there's so many familiar people, and well, Kiran is a rock star, so
lovely.
Well, awesome.
No one is 5 roles. I like that one. Long view of career.
Yeah. And sorry, Shirley, you were saying your journey when I just noticed Kiran, and my eyes, of course, lit up.
No problem. I was just saying what stuck with me is, if it's a long-term vision, long-term view, then don't worry about a small side step or temporary stepping back. Everything will work out in the end.
Amazing. Yeah. And so, Shirley, I mean, we will all live to be 80, 90, 100 and beyond, unless something untoward happens. And so for me, I firmly believe that my best is yet to come. And I look forward to all of us building together.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk soon.
Chat soon.
Thank you, everyone.